Hola and bienvenidos. Thank you for joining us for KRON4's special celebration of Hispanic heritage. I'm Camila Barco. Tonight we want to recognize the history and culture that has shaped neighborhoods here in the Bay Area and beyond. We observe Hispanic Heritage Month every year from September 15th to October 15th. The tradition started in 1968 as Hispanic Heritage Week. 20 years later, President Ronald Reagan expanded it to a 30-day period. But the question is, why September 15th? Well, that day marks the anniversary of independence for several Latin American countries like Costa Rica, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, and Nicaragua. Mexico and Chile celebrate their independence days on the 16th and the 18th. Hispanic women made history in California this year. Patricia Guerrero was approved to serve as an Associate Justice of the California Supreme Court back in March. She's the first Latina to ever hold that position. The UC Berkeley graduate has since been confirmed to lead the court as California's Chief Justice if approved by voters in November. And in another historic move this year, Governor Gavin Newsom appointed the state's first ever Latina to lead California's Environmental Protection Agency. Yana Garcia now oversees efforts to fight climate change, protect air and water quality, and advance environmental justice. She tells us her goal is to meet the needs of all Californians who are affected by these issues.
And that means making sure that all of our regulatory activities, our investment programs, everything that we do is focused not just on what works for the masses, but what works for the most vulnerable among our communities. We say the first, but the exciting thing is that it's not the last. Yeah. And so at this point, there's no turning back.
If you're looking for Hispanic trailblazers in the Bay Area, you don't have to go too far. In wine country across the Napa and Sonoma valleys, more Latino vineyards are making big names for themselves. KRON4's Taylor Bisacki brings us the achievements of the Mexican-American Vintners Association.
A table full of different families sharing similar stories and backgrounds.
Most of our parents were farm workers, came here as farm workers to the United States, so we share that common thread, and we've all grown up working in the vineyards and working for other proprietors in the fields, in the vineyards. And over time, the second generation, the third generation, we've started producing our own wine.
Hugo and Lydia Maldonado own Maldonado Family Vineyards in Calistoga. They're also a couple of the first members of the Mexican-American Vintners Association, or MAVA, which formed in 2010 as a way to bring together wineries with shared history and struggles.
Very much an intricate fiber of the Napa Valley winemaking history. I think that for the bulk of the development of wine country, kind of been in the backdrop, mostly seen as vineyard workers. But the reality is that there's a lot more talent there.
Alejandro Castillo Llamas and Lola Llamas with Llamas Family Wines say their winery started as a dream that became reality after decades of hard work.
First vintage was 2009. Llamas Family Wines got started because it was really a dream of my husband Oscar's. He grew up as a migrant farm worker from the age of 6 until he was about 19 years old. And he really wanted to do something to honor his family.
But getting here hasn't been easy, with many large corporate competitors in the industry.
Wine climate, it's very difficult when you don't have deep pockets. So the association allows for small private labels, small Mexican-American wineries or families that are trying to get into the business to be able to come together and collectively put their message out.
A message that not only are there a growing number of high-quality Mexican-owned wineries,
all of us at MAVA are making world-class wines because of our experience that we had since we were children.
But Mexican-Americans are part of the fabric of wine country and continue to power the industry, as a founder of Ceja Vineyards, Amelia Moran Ceja, explains.
Without the Mexican labor force, there wouldn't be a wine industry nor food on our table, and that's how we all started.
MAVA hosts a large annual event, Wine Harvest Festival, where they recently celebrated their 10th anniversary of the festival in August. In Napa Valley, Taylor Bisacki, KRON4 News.
Silicon Valley has some of the most expensive real estate in the country. But take a look at this map. Right there next to the Tony Tree-lined streets of Mountain View, Atherton, and Redwood City sits the community of North Fair Oaks. The population is mostly Hispanic. KRON4's Teresa Estacio met up with a community activist to put a spotlight on the area and its critical needs.
Welcome to what is known as North Fair Oaks, or
the community has a couple of monikers. One is Little Mexico, the other one is Little Michoacan. I believe that those nicknames are not necessarily chosen by the people who live here.
Everett Rodriguez should know he has lived in this area for more than 30 years since immigrating from Mexico. I met up with him in the neighborhood.
The looks of the community, they may seem like you are in a third world country. About 75%, give or take, Latino, mostly immigrants from Mexico, but lately a lot of immigrants coming in from Central America.
It is not a large area.
We're talking about an area of about 1.5 miles. You find a very high density of people living here, you know, sometimes in garages.
Lately, he shares, improving the infrastructure has been a critical fight.
So some streets don't have sidewalks.
Also, take a look here. Crews were out expanding the sidewalks, an improvement, Rodriguez points out, but he says there is so much more that needs to be done.
If you're in a wheelchair or a mother with a stroller, you know, you would be very challenged to try to get across the community on this street, and this is the main thoroughfare.
Rodriguez says that the area is rich in Latin culture, supporting the community's needs.
So this is a grocery store that has been in this community for several decades. They have been very successful catering to the Latino community.
Recently, a local artist painted this mural to highlight civic pride.
We are constantly trying to make changes, you know, that can impact positively the residents of this community.
Rodriguez says it's challenging to know about the amount of work that needs to be done to improve the lives of the residents who call this place home. He is, though, optimistic for the future.
If you want to think about the beginning of the American dream, this is where it begins, you know, and then it moves on to everything else.
In North Fair Oaks, Teresa Estacio, KRON4 News.
A San Francisco woman is hoping to inspire other women to lead in the Peruvian culinary industry. She recently launched her Peruvian food truck, but she tells me it didn't come without any hurdles.
It's delicious. It's hard not to eat the inventory.
Flan, lomo saltado, ceviche, empanadas. It's some of Peru's diverse cuisine. And in the heart of the Presidio in San Francisco, Nori Michelle is dishing all sorts of Peruvian specialties.
Hi.
Out of her own food truck, Yo Soy Ceviche.
I don't think that I would do anything else.
Michelle learned how to cook because of her mom. Her mom left Peru at 17 and tried to come to the States by crossing the border.
At 3 in the morning, they woke them up like, okay, now run. And there was a beach there. They had to run and jump in the water because the helicopters were like trying to get them.
After a dangerous trek, her mom made it to California and raised Michelle in San Francisco.
I started cooking when I was 18 years old, and I went to culinary school.
Michelle catered, directed events, and ran various kitchens, working her way up to general manager for 15 years. But after getting sick with an autoimmune disease, she needed to reinvent herself.
Hey everybody! So I ended up creating a show to show my friends what I was doing at home.
Michelle started from the ground up, selling her dishes online, and business grew quickly.
I had little cups of ceviche that I would sell for $5, and it just kind of grew into, you know, do you have a table?
Michelle set up tents at events to sell her food, but the labor took a toll. 5 months ago, she bought this food truck to make it easier to run her business and keep up with the demand.
At first I wasn't able to get it, and then I ended up, like, it worked out later on down the line.
She revamped it and opened for business on September 11th at the Presidio.
I was really excited. I didn't expect for it to be so big.
Inside her food truck are the makings of classic Peruvian dishes like lomo saltado and ceviche. It's raw, fresh fish or shrimp marinated in citrus juices.
Typically in Peru it's lime, but we use lemon, which makes it a little bit sweeter for us.
The food compares to a home-cooked meal. She says it's her own recipes, the ingredients are natural, and no sugars are added. But she finds men are still dominating the culinary industry in Peru.
I really want to open a door, for mothers, daughters.
Michelle didn't think that she'd get this far, but she has found the journey to be rewarding.
Cooking has saved my life in so many different ways, and it's been my therapy. So no matter what I'm going through, I always revert back to cooking.
Coming up, the story of how a Bolivian-born artist got his big break and where you can see his art in San Francisco. Plus, celebrating heritage through food, the celebrity chef shining the spotlight on the influence of Mexican cuisine, and a dream 10 years in the making, how one decision by Jordan Diaz set him on a path that brought him all the way from Colombia to the Oakland Coliseum. We'll be right back. Welcome back to KRON4's Hispanic Heritage Special. This next story introduces you to a Bolivian artist whose talent was recognized while he worked as a dishwasher at a prominent San Francisco hotel. KRON4's Ella Sagamonian introduces us to the late Antonio Sotomayor, whose work you can still find around the city's prestigious sites.
The iconic Grace Cathedral in San Francisco is a piece of art in and of itself. But inside you'll find another impressive work of art, a 30-panel mural depicting historical events like the 1906 fire, which burned most of the city to the ground. Cathedral archivist Michael Lampin was acquainted with the Bolivian-born artist Antonio Sotomayor.
A very urbane gentleman with a Bolivian accent, which he never lost. A very committed artist. And I think his early years in Bolivia formed his art very strongly.
The mural was masterfully painted with acrylic on linen in Sotomayor's home, just a stone's throw away on Nob Hill. The painter, sculptor, and illustrator immigrated to San Francisco in 1923. As a young man, Sotomayor got a job as a dishwasher at the historic Palace Hotel to make ends meet while attending the Hopkins Institute of Art.
So the story goes, Antonio, on his 5th day as a dishwasher, dropped the dishes and instead left the kitchen. He took a seat in the lounge and sketched whatever came to his imagination. Well, his doodling caught the attention of his boss, who eventually helped launch him into San Francisco's high society art scene.
2 more of his murals are still proudly on display in the hotel's Pied Piper Lounge, portraying notable and eccentric characters, including literary luminaries Mark Twain and Bret Hart, as well as the self-proclaimed Emperor of the United States, Morton.
His skills as an artist were soon found out by the owner, Janet Johnson, and she said, "You are so good at drawing things. Could you do something for the palace?" And that's what he did. He painted another painting that we have in our promenade for her to commemorate the 75th anniversary of the original hotel.
Sotomayor went on to gain notoriety and was invited to serve as San Francisco Arts Commissioner in the 1940s and 50s.
It's just a tribute to, if you work hard and you have the right attitude, great things can happen.
For many years, another sizable piece of his, which he is said to have described as the most challenging project of his career, was housed on Treasure Island, a terracotta sculpture 50 feet wide, titled The Fountain of the Pacific, created for the Golden Gate International Exhibition World's Fair in 1939. But the fountain, symbolizing unity across the Pacific Ocean, was broken up into smaller parts and has been tucked away out of sight for decades. Treasure Island Museum Vice President Anna Schnoblin has been captivated by its grandeur and symbolism since she laid eyes on it in 1991. She explains that Sotomayor made the fountain with the impression it would be on permanent display. Instead, its dissected parts lie in an abandoned hangar away from public view. So she continues on her mission to restore the fountain to its full glory.
It seems like it's everything here is in a permanent state of disarray. I mean, when you see the island is all torn up and covered with piles of dirt, and we know that eventually it's going to be a beautiful redevelopment. And I can certainly see why this fountain should be part of that redevelopment.
Sotomayor came a long way from Chulumani, Bolivia. At the height of his career, his work was exhibited worldwide. He died of cancer at 82 years old in 1985. Sotomayor had no children but left behind artwork that will hopefully be enjoyed for generations to come. Reporting in San Francisco, I'm Ella Sigamonian.
Coming up, from the kitchen to Patty's table, the celebrity chef shining a spotlight on Mexican cuisine and how its influence has spread beyond borders. You can't celebrate Hispanic heritage without talking about food. In her TV series, celebrity chef Patty Henich takes a look at how authentic Mexican cooking helped shape Mexico's history and culture. KRON4's Vicky Liviakis talked with Patty about her journey across borders with a culinary lens.
You ready for the sauce? Whoa! You're eating an entire tentacle, taco, no?
Meet award-winning chef and cookbook author Patty Henich of Patty's Mexican Table. She travels all over Mexico, bringing her culinary adventures to life.
That's gonna taste so good. I love powerful food.
It's Patty's 11th season on PBS, this time in Mexico's Nuevo León region, bordering Texas, where she explores culinary traditions that date back generations.
So pleased to meet you.
It's so lovely to connect. You have your salsa and I have the chips.
Okay, we have a party.
Because she's always on the road, we tagged up from our own kitchens to talk about Mexican cuisine, from fish tacos to Tex-Mex barbecue.
I feel like Mexican cuisine is evolving all over the world, because now go to California, you have Cali-Mex. Go to Texas, you have Tex-Mex.
Patty's most recent cookbook, hot off the press.
And it has over 150 recipes, and each recipe has a story.
Patty is named one of the 100 greatest cooks of all time.
That is the most beautiful octopus taco I've ever seen. No he probado nada así. Food in the kitchen are the most noble vehicles to share who you are, where you come from, and how you can enrich others with what your culture brings.
Patty's love of food and Mexican heritage is something she delights in sharing with us this month or any time.
Hispanic Heritage Month is absolutely the best opportunity to show how one day is not enough and how Mexican culture and cuisine can really enrich, America's kitchens every day of the year. It gives you tacos, it gives you enchiladas, it gives you soups, and it also gives you something more, which is what's behind the food. And it's the hospitality, the celebration of a meal, how accessible and accommodating Mexicans and our food is. You make tacos, you can customize the taste. You want to add salsa, you add. You want to add guacamole, you add. So I feel that it's a great opportunity for us to shine a light on just how much we bring and how it's incredible that the U.S. and Mexico are neighbors. And we have so much to share.
Oh, you're making me hungry.
In San Francisco, Vicky Liviakis, KRON4 News.
Thank you for joining us as we honor Hispanic heritage in the Bay Area. To watch any of the stories you saw here on this special, you can go to KRON4.com or download our free mobile app. Have a good night.